Hello, welcome to KAJOS Consultants. My name is Joshua, and today I will be taking you through how you can run, interpret, and report correlation analysis or correlation data. So by the end of this session, we'll not only gain insight on how you can run, interpret, and report correlation data, but also gain deeper insights on some of the correlation sizes and their interpretation as indicated in the table that I will be showing you shortly. So correlation is mostly done, maybe for instance, by managers where they want to understand if an increase or an increment in the employees' salaries will lead to maybe cases of absenteeism will not be there, or maybe a marketing manager or a sales manager want to know if they are, when the prices of commodities are increased, will result into a reduction in sales, or even in some instances where the bankers or the bank managers want to determine whether if they come up with a new innovation or an idea, for example, transferring their cash or their funds electronically will lead to an increase in financial performance. So those are some of the circumstances whereby we can also use the correlation analysis. Also, it is important to note that correlation is not causation, or it simply doesn't have any influence, or the variables does not simply have any influence over another. Below here, I have a correlation, the correlation sizes and their interpretation, whereby correlations value that is for Pearson correlation, they normally range between -1 to +1. In that, whenever you get any Pearson correlation value of +1, it will indicate a perfect positive correlation. If it is negative, it will simply show a negative or a perfect negative correlation. So any Pearson correlation value between positive or 0.9 negative or positive 0.9 to 0.99 will show that there is a very high positive or negative correlation. If you get a Pearson correlation of positive or negative 0.7 to 0.9, will indicate high positive or negative correlation. Any value between 0.5 plus or minus to 0.7 plus or minus will show there is moderate positive or negative correlation. Then if you have a plus or a minus 0.3 to 0.5 will show weak or low positive or negative correlation, and any value of between positive or negative 0.1 to positive or negative 0.3 will show there is very low or very weak positive or negative correlation. And finally, if you have any value of between 0.0 to 0.1 positive or negative, will show this markedly low or negligible positive or negative correlation. So with our data here, the SPSS data that we have here, we have two variables, not two, but three variables. You have financial performance, you have board skills, and you have corporate governance. So for our today's session, simply want to ask to answer the questions that we have here. Let's take, for example, you are undertaking a study, maybe for your undergraduate project or a master's thesis, and really want to test some of the hypotheses that you have. So we have one question here, which is asking you or me to show the relationship that exists between corporate governance and financial performance in secondary schools. So for this exercise, you have the hypothesis that we'll like to test. And the hypothesis, you have only two types of hypothesis. You have alternative hypothesis and you have null hypothesis. So our hypothesis here is alternative one. Since it is positive, and it is indicating there is significant relationship between corporate governance and financial performance in secondary schools. So this is what we are going to test. Then come and write a report below here. So to run correlation analysis, simply take your cursor to the Analyze menu in the SPSS main menu, and then click on Analyze to display the table here. Then put your cursor on the correlate, then bivariate, and click on bivariate. So once you click on the bivariate, this will display the dialog box, the bivariate correlations dialog box here, as you can see, with all the variables that you have. So our financial performance will act as the dependent variable, both skills will act as independent, and corporate governance. But remember, our question was only focusing on corporate governance and financial performance. So we go back. So let's test corporate governance, financial performance. We move the cursor to move the financial performance variable to the variable box on your right-hand side. Then click on corporate governance and move it to this side. So by default, the Pearson correlation has already been checked, even though there are other correlation like candles and Spearman. So we'll go live for this exercise. We're going to work with Pearson correlation, then to tell, then simply click on OK to activate the output view. The output view here, we have the correlation table already generated. So we can simply copy this correlation table and take it to where we have our document and where we have the equation. So to copy this, you simply right click on your right key on the keyboard or of your mouse. Then you can even cut it. Then we come to this side where we have reporting the correlation. Then we can right click and paste it there. So let's paste it there. Then we can just let's just auto fit this to match the window that we have here. So this is what we have. You can, so this is the value that we have. And remember what I indicated earlier on the correlation sizes that we have, and we can also check with our data here on the corporate governance and financial performance. So if we check our corporate governance and financial performance, it is simply going that way, this side. So we find that corporate governance and financial performance, we have a Pearson product value or size of 4.66. Then we have significance total, and this is telling us correlation is significant at the 0.01 level two-tailed. So if we check at our significant value, we find it is 0.00. So meaning our value is significant, and we also have the double star, which is indicating that the value here of the variable is significant to the other variable. Then you have N is 73. So those are the total entries that we made during the data entry process. So we simply come here and report and show our reporting by indicating the Pearson. So the Pearson product, this P should be capital. Pearson product correlation of corporate governance and financial performance and financial performance in secondary schools. Found that or simply you can also say found or indicate or found. Since it was the Pearson value was 4.6, 0.466, so that one falls in our category here of weak or low. So found a weak, positive. Since it was positive, we didn't really have any negative value. It was positive, as you can see, 4.66 is positive. Found a weak, positive, positive and statistically significant. Significant relationship. So found a weak, positive and statistically significant relationship. Then you can have our indicate. Pearson correlation is indicated or is showed by R or is represented by R. So we can have R is equal to 0.466. Then we have the p-value. P-value is now the significant value was less than 0.05. Was less than 0.05. 0.05. Hence, the alternative hypothesis, we can simply come and represent it by this letter. It can be alternative hypothesis or that hypothesis that we have here. Alternative hypothesis, that one. It can also be your hypothesis number 1. If you intend to change, you can still change it to hypothesis number 1. Hence, the alternative hypothesis was, just remove the superscript, was upheld. So hence the alternative hypothesis was upheld, and our alternative hypothesis is here, which indicates that there is significant relationship between corporate governance and financial performance in secondary schools. So was upheld. So what does this now show? So therefore, just remove the bold. Therefore, there was an increase in financial performance of secondary schools. With an increase in corporate governance. So full stop. So this is because the result of this increment was because we didn't really have any negative value. So let us also run another test here and show. You can run another test and show the other one with come to analyze, then correlate, then click on bivariate. Corporate governance, you can take it this side, or you can even decide to run all of them all together, and so that you also incorporate the other aspect of board scales. So once you click on OK, so you find the board scales, you are getting a Pearson correlation value of 0.43, doubles and the significant 0.0. So this shows the value of significant and N is 73. So these are the Pearson product correlation of board skills and financial performance found weak. Since it is 0.43, it is falling in the category of 0.3 to 0.5, which is low or weak positive correlation, with the R or Pearson value of 4.30 and the significant value, the P value here is less than the significant value of 0.05. Therefore, if our hypothesis was indicating that board skills, there's a relationship between board skills and corporate and financial performance, then we'll uphold the alternative hypothesis. But if it was indicating that board skills and financial performance, there's no relationship between the two, then we'll reject the null hypothesis and make a conclusion that the null hypothesis was rejected. So, but we find that there's an increase with board scale. There was an increase in financial performance because the Pearson correlation value here was positive. So that is all about Pearson correlation. Kindly check on the subscription tab below and subscribe to this channel to get more of these educative videos. And have a good day.